Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ladies of Sosa podcast. My name is Sarah.
And my name is Christine.
And today, first and foremost, we want to give a shout out to our audience, per usual, for always tuning in, always being supportive, always leaving a comment and interacting with us. We are so grateful. Today, we're doing a part 2 of our xenophobia conversation, but with a little spin on it.
Yes.
Okay. Because we got a really interesting comment in one of our YouTube videos.
2 of them. Two comments.
That kind of like got our minds thinking, and I honestly love when y'all leave comments because it actually gives us topics for our roundtable discussion.
And these comments are spicy.
Yes.
So
let's get into it. And our panel doesn't even know what it's going to be about. So this is kind of like a wild card episode.
Yes.
Should we introduce our panel first?
Yes, let's introduce the panel.
Let's do that first.
If you watched last week's episode, it's the same panel.
It's the same panel, but just in case you didn't watch it, let's reintroduce our panel. We're going to start with Emmanuel first. Emmanuel is not ready, huh?
Emmanuel Ungwe, Emmanuel_comedy on all social media. One half of Nilotic Noise with my sister, Blue Now. Music coming soon.
Love it.
Salam alaikum ya Junubin. It's KK.
Love it.
Love it.
What is good, y'all? We're live and local on the Ladies of Sosa. My name is Edward, and I'm just happy to be here. It's honestly a blessing. I'm excited. Ooh.
Yeah.
It is.
Love Edward.
Love it.
That's hard to follow. How y'all doing? My name is Tariq. You can follow me, Arnabit20.
How was Colombia?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't ask you last week, but...
Atletico Nacional is now my new team.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So I give a shout out to them.
I see you representing.
Medellin.
Did they think you were Colombian? I bet some people did.
Yeah, until I started speaking Spanish, because all I know
You
is
can speak Spanish?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was broken like
No, but how was your
Sarah.
experience? Like, okay,
No,
how
I know.
long were you
I
there?
know more.
How
I was
long
there
was you there
for 2.5 months. Or 2 months. 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were
Wow,
there for
yeah, it's
while.
been a minute.
Yeah. So it was definitely a great experience. I think getting out of there's so many countries right next to our backyard that it's great to just visit them and just see the people.
So you went to Medellin? Is that how you say it? Medellin?
Yeah, so I went to Medellin, and then the last
Cartagena or
2 weeks I went to
Cartagena?
Cartagena.
How do you say it?
Cartagena.
Cartagena.
Yeah.
Okay.
Medellin is way better, and Cartagena was just hot. It was more like Miami. It was hot.
Did you go out?
Oh yeah.
You
I had
partied?
to. I had to.
You had a good time?
Yeah,
Of course he did. I was watching. I was watching the.
Let me ask you. How are the women? Because I know a lot of people saying Colombia is fire.
They
love.
Not just submissive. They say it's some fire baddies out there.
It's definitely some baddies. Yeah.
Did you see some black Colombians?
Yeah, it's actually a big percentage of Colombians are black.
It's
Like
what?
25 to 30% of them are black. So
Wow.
They don't
So, yeah,
get
when
that
you
thick
go-
without having some niggas in them.
So yeah, you go
Oh my
there,
God.
but it's like it's such a mixture.
Go
The
crazy.
salsas, the dance clubs. It was a great experience just to go out and just be yourself and don't have to sit down and don't do anything. Just smoke hookah all day while listening to music.
How was
Wow, the
how was the
shade.
exchange rate like compared to American dollars? Like were things cheaper there?
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't never been to Colombia. so
Yeah.
I'm just-
It was
Sorry.
it was a lot cheaper. So one of the areas I stayed at this hotel for like
Sorry.
7 days. So in those 7 days, 5 days I ate filet mignons basically for 5 straight days.
So you was rich out there.
Because
Big
because they grow beef there, so a lot of the beef cuts are cheaper.
How did they grow?
No, they don't grow. They raise cattle. So a lot of the beef cuts are cheaper. So the filet mignon here is like $50-$60. Over there was like $5-$10. So it was a great experience as far as like food wise. You'll definitely be in some great restaurants.
Thank you. So that's a good little review on what it's like for a South Sudanese brother to go to
Oh
Colombia.
yeah.
So
You go there if you
Passport
you go there looking
Passport
like
bros. If you're looking for a submissive, okay.
you know what I mean. And I would say this
Feminine,
about
We're not promoting that. We are
women.
promoting.
I would
South
say this
Sudanese
I'm
about
going to Australia.
If you're looking for a feminine,
La 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 la.
I'm not. That's
All my Australia pseudos tap in.
don't open up that can of worms.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Kalas.
Yeah. So shout out to that.
The only love we're here for is accents. Like if a girl has a South Sudanese and she got
I
like
need my Australian Sudanese women to tap in.
Listen,
Right.
all the baddies in Australia.
Yo,
Link
get to this
up.
man.
You see the material.
Please.
Show him, Edward.
Show
him how the shirt is matching the phone case, is matching the glasses.
Listen, blue's my favorite color, okay? It just looks good on me.
Hey, man, put some respect on Sudanese Blade's name.
Okay.
No, listen,
vampire hunting
one of my
out
little
here.
cousins messaged me about Edward.
What? Edward, you heard
Edward,
that?
I told Edward too.
They're looking for
one of my
you,
little
bro.
cousins was like, "What's going on with Edward?
You need
What's
to
going
stop
on?"
teasing the women. Whenever you talk, you be teasing them. So you need to tone it down.
I'm a regular guy. I bleed red just like you guys.
Oh, stop.
Hey, ladies, he will be starting. Ladies, he will be starting a Patreon
That's right.
where he reads late night books to y'all. He will be starting a Patreon.
It's the humility.
$12.99.
He said, "Listen, it's not easy being beautiful." Vida,
reads.
thank you so much.
Simple things.
Vida, please introduce yourself. The one and only brave lady of our panel today. Okay, besides us, because we're part of it. We got you. We got your back. Okay?
Vida, a beautiful. She just moved here from KC, 2022. Right? You moved to Dallas. She's a teacher. 4th grade, am I correct? Yes. So how are the South Sudanese in KC? Because KC has a big South Sudanese population.
I will say it's a lot more like, it's like easier to like get in touch with South Sudanese people. But coming down here, people are more spread out. It's hard.
Right.
I'll be lucky if I see one South Sudanese person, you know.
How did you even find out about Ladies of Sosa? Because obviously you're new to the community. Did you just see us online and you're
Definitely,
like...
I just saw y'all online. So I remember I would see the videos like a while ago, like the old videos. And then when I moved down here, you know, when you move to one place.
Yeah.
And then they like recommend certain things that are like in Dallas. So yeah, so that's how I found out about y'all.
We appreciate you for coming on and, you know, literally tackling these topics with us. We don't get a lot of girls.
I know.
Yeah, we get a lot of men that are willing. Girls are a little kind of nervous.
And now you just met some South Sudanese
Yes.
people, so you get to tap in.
Hey,
I
this is the hashtag.
yes.
This
I
the
told
hashtag.
Vida before the show. I was like, we
From
usually
now
get the
on,
same like girls like reoccurring.
I feel like it's more intimidating for girls. And I don't blame them because it's hard to be on camera.
Wait. Talk about
We're
this.
fun
Especially
guys.
your first time.
it is
To
intimidating.
come on camera, it's nerve-wracking.
Not even just looks. Like people will pick apart what you say. People are more harsh towards women, what they say, than they are towards men.
Yeah.
And that's fact.
No.
These two
They came for me when I said
Y'all ain't getting no
Sudan versus
DMs.
South Sudan.
What are we talking
They
about
will
here?
come for us for anything.
Man,
they came for me for
They
my
said that our
definition.
natural, shout out to Vida, natural hair,
period.
beauty. They said that
I got
we
natural hair, too.
have
Shout out to me.
mop buckets on our head and horse hair.
Bad
Hey,
crazy.
We do
thing.
get bullied here and there.
Crazy thing.
Maybe it's maybe.
Shout out to the flea market
Okay,
for
for
our wigs.
Thank you.
They said free market wigs.
This is the
They can't even
Yeah,
afford it, so
you
like
know.
they can't even afford it, so I don't know what they talking
That's
about.
what I'm saying.
Like, if
Please,
there
I'll
was a- if
pop
there was a-
it.
That's a high value man.
Affirmation.
If there was a problem, they would pay for it. Mush? Okay then.
That's not what that girl's wigs look like.
Uh-huh.
That's what I'm
Okay, you know what?
saying.
Moving on.
Then we're going to address 2 comments as a part 2 to last week's episode, talking about xenophobia, which is basically, what was the definition again?
The fear or prejudice of people that are not from your country, pretty much. Yes.
Okay.
That's a
So-
simple way to put it.
This comment was left on the video where we did our Q&A. This was part 2 when we talked about what should I do because my parents don't like the tribe that my partner's from, and how do I tell my parents that I'm dating a West African? So on that video, someone, Dang MII said, to most South Sudanese, it's better for our girls to date with white men than dating a West African, especially Nigerians. There's nothing, as you said, and he was referring to Sarah.
What I said, yeah.
There's nothing, as you said, at the end of the day, we are all Africans. The issue of West Africans dating our girls hit differently to us. And it's where you see all South Sudanese coming together to condemn. West Africans don't just date random South Sudanese beautiful girls. They go as far as to our celebrities. Example, Aduda Ketch from Bor. This undermines us. Not forgetting, we don't want to lose our most dark
Get up.
our most dark features and our height. This is my own opinion here now.
Okay.
So that's the first. So he's saying that we're going to lose our striking South Sudanese features when we allow our girls to date West Africans. He's saying they don't just go for random girls. They go for
the upper echelon. They get the best of the best. Like,
Me.
This
Yeah,
might make
they
me sound
go
like
for-
Dr.
for-
Umar, but let me say this. Like, at the end of the day, if you choose to be like go outside of like South Sudanese culture and you choose to fall in love with that, that's your prerogative, and that's what you low key just we're searching for.
We'll
and
get
that's-
into the
that's what you're
topic.
gonna get
There's
with.
one more topic that follows it. Yeah, and we'll get
One
into
more
your
comment.
point.
Make
Yeah,
sure
just
you
one
read
more
their
comment so
name.
we can get it. It's Faye Eeks. I think this person is Haitian because I'm starting to get to know our community a little bit
Okay.
on our page.
It's a long comment.
I know it's long, so I'm gonna try to like paraphrase a little bit. He said, "I remember KK said something about intercultural dating marriage in this episode. I believe he said something along the lines of if South Sudanese start dating non-South Sudanese, then there will be no Sudanese, not like real indigenous South Sudanese.
Yeah.
And they said pretty much like I was originally offended by this comment because I'm like, it's like, wow, like nobody, so you're kind of against any other culture intermarrying with other South Sudanese. But now I'm starting to understand why, you know, South Sudanese would not want to assimilate with other cultures, because I'm not supporting tribalism, but for some tribes, it just makes sense for them to intermarry. West Africans can reproduce with each other, or even South Africans or Central Africans or some East Africans, and it wouldn't make a difference because they all look the same. But can the South Sudanese person reproduce a South Sudanese with another tribe outside of South Sudan? Will that child have those special features that are only unique to South Sudanese?
like-
Pretty much like West Africans look different. Like, you know, like I see West Africans that don't look like one like look, but so they can intermarry and still kind of like, it wouldn't really make a difference. But South Sudanese, if we marry outside of our culture, we do kind of lose our South Sudanese
I feel
identity.
like it doesn't matter. Like, who
They're so quick on
cares?
this feature.
There's gonna be.
Feature this, feature that.
It doesn't matter. Like, there's gonna be people that marry Sudanese people that marry other Sudanese people, or South Sudanese people that marry other Sudanese people, and there's gonna be people that marry
Wanna
outside
make
of
a
there.
Build-A-Bear or something.
So I feel like even having kids, the idea of having kids, it is kind of a narcissistic concept. Like I know me personally, like I love looking like my mom, and I see my dad as well when I look in the mirror. I love looking at my grandma, and I see my grandma. And when I imagine having a child, I imagine having a child that looks like me. But at the end of the day, like if I want to have a kid, I feel like I'm gonna have to really not make it so much about me. Like, you know, like I shouldn't have to be like, I just want to make a mini me. Like it is, I feel like a lot of what goes around about creating a child is very narcissistic, and you have to let that go. And also, it shouldn't be the sole focus if you want to have a child. Like, I just want to make this mini me, and I'm going to put my ambitions and aspirations in this child. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Osas, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Very simple. Do you ever see bee go mate with mosquito? Okay.
What?
So I think
Repeat that, KK. Repeat that.
Correlation. Are we not all people?
I'm gonna be his angry translator. Basically, he's saying, do you ever see a king get with a peasant?
God.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
No.
oh my God.
Basically, he's saying that like at a certain point you got to ask yourself, like the unique features that we all have as individuals on this planet is such a beautiful thing. And so when you get to a point where your people just always are deciding to go outside of it, we end up like the Native Americans or any other group where like you just lose all of your unique features and what you
Watering
used
down or
to.
something.
Like you're not even watering, because that is genetic science, and I'm not gonna do that because that's the Hitlerish.
That's his field. Don't get into science.
Don't do that. I ain't Hitler now. I ain't you know eugenics.
But what are these unique features though?
Dark skin.
I mean, it's basically
Not all South Sudanese are dark skinned.
It's about nilotic features mostly.
But not
We
all
still
South
get
Sudanese
confused
have
for
that.
different cultures.
So
That's
the
true.
issue becomes is like
Senegalese?
if you don't have that bone
Nigerians
structure,
too.
if you're not that
Ugandan.
tall, if you're not that dark, are you not South Sudanese? Or you're gonna lose these features? And when we ask them what are these features, and they point out the features, oh, you got the jawbone, you this tall, you this dark. But it's like there's a lot of people in South Sudan who don't have that, who are not that tall, who are light skinned, who don't have the jaw features. That doesn't mean that they're not Sudanese. That still means that they are Sudanese. I don't feel like as a human being you are defined by how you look. You're defined by how you think, where you're from, etc. As people, as we move forward, we're going to interlock with other cultures. We're going to change. Like I get mistaken for like what he says, Senegalese people. We look like Senegalese people. So we're not this unique feature on earth that we're the only people who are tall. We're the only people who are dark. There's people who are darker than us.
Yeah.
So there are people who are taller than us. There are people who got a jawline structured than us. So it's not. I feel like when you start talking about unique features, it's like breeding a dog. It's like, okay, I want this French bulldogs with this French bulldog because I want to make it to look like
Kelly-
this.
they've been saying that civilization started in Sudan. So we are basically considered to be the original man and woman.
We're not the original
So-
man.
No,
No.
No,
As far- that-
But
that's
we're
what
one
the
of the
comment said.
oldest. We have one of the oldest.
We're the first, if not the second. I think the Hausa or the I don't know how to pronounce
haplogroups
it
or
in
something
South
like that.
Africa.
We're second oldest.
They're said to be
Just as old as us.
older, if not just as old as
It's
us.
about. We're not gonna lose it though. You're still gonna have the genetic marker. It's just like at a certain point you gotta ask yourself like,
It's evolution.
And
always
then
have those
coupled with
features.
South Sudan being like the newest country in the world, we're still trying to build. We're still
2011,
trying
baby.
to keep growing.
so you're telling me the sun in South Sudan is not gonna change? It's gonna change all of a sudden? It's
No,
not gonna be a
Yeah,
different
but I think,
environment?
I think the
as
point
far
that she
as
was
like
making-
interracial dating or,
Yeah.
or intercultural dating or
I think her point was
Wow.
like intercultural dating will hurt South Sudanese more than it will hurt other cultures or other
honestly,
Africans.
I realize I do want to have children that look like me because I can affirm in them what I wish I would have experienced growing up, especially growing up not back home in South Sudan where everybody's black. But
No buts. I got a cousin
it's
for
more
you.
important for me to have a good husband and a good father, and however that might come,
Yeah,
that's okay. Like I'll deal with it.
yeah.
But honestly, I would prefer if it was a black person, just because when you get into even interracial, there's a lot that interracial people go through as far as like identity crisis with like having to be two races.
I would
So,
prefer if it was a South Sudanese.
yeah,
person,
if
honestly.
you're
But
not,
we're not
then
all
we'll figure
full
it out.
Sudanese. Like we pretend like we're all just 100% just Denka or whatever we are. We still have a percentage of us that are from
I am.
other places.
I'm Dinka Nuer.
Hey, y'all not finna play me.
Like, if you look at your ancestry, you
He's
got
talking about
something in
ancestry,
you
100%.
that's gonna be a little
Okay.
different.
I'm
I'm
saying
a 100% Kushite.
my
Period.
comment
Period.
itself was more for the fact that I got nothing against interracial relations, intertribal relations, nothing at all. I'm saying for me, I would prefer to have a partner of the Sudanese background and Sudanese culture where we intertwine in so many multiple ways outside of just having similarities of liking each other. Where we share somewhat same core beliefs, same structural beliefs and upbringings. Our mothers understand the same cultural and traditional ways and rituals that we all partake in. Where that is intertwined within us from the jump. It's already in
Yeah.
you. Not on you, it's in you. So
Hello.
Yeah.
when I say that,
But I will point.
I am
Okay.
pro Sudanese on Sudanese, but I'm not against Sudanese on whatever else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a way where you can, of course, like be like, I think they're trying to preserve our features, but I think what is really important is preserving our history, preserving the languages. Like, I don't speak my tribal language. I was never taught that. So I think there's ways that you can, even if you weren't marrying someone that was the same ethnic group as you can still preserve your culture. And I think that is the most important thing to
Language
make
is
sure that your
virtue,
kids
culture
aren't
is
lost in
virtue.
this world. They
I'll
know
have
where
to
they
have
come
pushback
from.
on that because I think you do erase the culture whenever you do get married with somebody else of a different culture. The truth, let's be honest with ourselves here. Most of the kids that are in the United States or places where that does happen, your kid will lose their identity because your grandkids will lose their identity because they're part of two cultures now. And who do they marry and who do they decide to get married to? And eventually they will not have a connection to your Sudanese roots. That's just the truth of it. And when you do get married to somebody else of a different culture, that's what you have to accept. They're still a part of you. It's still a part of their lineage. But at the end of the day, it's like,
It's just the reality.
it's just the reality of it.
reality.
When you get married to another person,
And you have to teach your kids.
Correct.
you know.
it's kind of over, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's gonna be your future. Same way that any American or anybody else that talks about it is like they look back and they're like, oh, I'm part Irish, I'm part this, I'm part that. I can connect to my, but they'll just look at you as like a fleeting memory, but nothing more than that. It's not really a serious thing.
There's the infamous quote: "You want to take away someone's culture, you take away their language." Number one, you erase the language, you erase their background, you erase their culture because it's slowly going to fade to whatever culture or language that they are accustomed to now. So
Very good point.
I'm
Language is virtue.
I'm pro Sudan and pro Sudanese and all tribes and etc.
Can we say South Sudan? Is that
Oh yeah.
I can't listen. I can't because I'm not fully South Sudanese.
Okay.
Aren't you
I'm
half
with that.
Nuba?
My grandmother's Nuba.
And we
I'm a
talked
quarter.
about how when
So-
we separated, they weren't included.
Correct. So I
yeah.
can't-
Okay. Fair.
I am pro all Sudan within
Yeah.
all ethnic groups of Sudan.
Facts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
No
All right.
matter
Pro,
what.
hey, we pro Sudanese
Yeah,
all the way.
solidarity.
Most of us were born in Khartoum.
Am I the
so-
only
Yeah,
South,
right.
pro
Khartoum
South
is
Sudan?
up north.
I'm South Sudan.
I'm
My
pro South
Khartoum
Sudan,
babies.
but
Come on, now Durman,
there's a lot of connected. Of course, like we were one country for so long.
Yeah.
It's like Koreans. Willie made this comment. He was like, when you ask Koreans, like, oh, what are you? Most of the time, whether they're from North Korea or South Korea, they'll just be like, I'm Korean.
Yeah.
And we did fight for it. When people see us, they're like, these are South Sudanese people. Mm-hmm. But like he said, like it's hard because he literally has a grandmother that's
I think my dad fought for the liberation of South Sudan. Like what is South Sudan? So I have to
let her speak.
I have to say I feel like it's important to me. I don't judge anybody for saying, but I feel like it's important to me to say South Sudan for like everything that he fought for. And you know, honestly, if he was alive right now, he might be like, it's not a big deal because at the end of the day, we fought for the liberation of our people, whether it's Sudanese or South Sudan. We just want our people to be free.
I think that's important too to highlight because you say he fought for the liberation. What exactly did he do?
Yeah, so my father was a commander during the first civil wars that happened. So he was a commander. He was in the army, and he also was in media. He was in radio, informing people of what was going on during the struggle for the rebel group. He was part of the rebel group. Let's say that he was in favor of separation, pretty much. And I don't know. I mean, that's tricky. He was in favor of the liberation of.
So we have
indigenous Sudanese people, black people of South Sudan.
Can we acknowledge why the separation happened? Was mostly because whenever they started to change the style of government that North Sudan was going through, when they started to make it more about Islam and being a what was it called? What was the Islamic State? Whenever they're bringing in
Sharia law.
When they were introducing Sharia law, and that's when what's his name? Tall nigga. Well, the one that got killed by the United States.
John Goodall.
No, the other dude, Al Qaeda.
Osama bin Laden.
That's when Osama bin Laden and the boys came and they started doing that, and that's where the separation started. Originally, even John Grung himself, they didn't want us to be unified. So we have to acknowledge that's where it was. It was Muslim extremists.
Can I say also one thing that bothers me about the split is that
we separated our country.
We split and we got the smaller portion. That always bothers me.
And as a person who's in the BA, let me just put it like this: a BA is South Sudan. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so is Darfur, so is the Duma Mountains. Like I feel like they're ethnically, indigenously.
You gotta remember that we got the smaller half. We got the half that matters.
We didn't get.
We're still fighting, bro. We split. We split. Things got worse.
But we split, and then they said, "Oh, a BA neutral."
Nigga, Sudan was not
we
just
want to be South Sudanese.
South Sudan for us as South Sudanese, Junubin or whatever. That was all. Like I feel like for us to separate, and then it's just not fair.
I think my Nuba people, I always consider them South Sudanese because we know what it is. Like, and here's the thing: North Sudanese people, I don't even beef with them. I always beef with the government. It's always been beef about the government.
Always been
where? Okay, then where do we have our patriotism if we keep saying Sudan?
I'm still South Sudanese, guys.
That's what I'm saying. That's the part that I'm like we're
like, hey, when we start playing basketball against each other, we
and represent our flag.
In the Olympics, it's South Sudan until I drown.
It is. I identify as a South Sudanese as
whoever we play after.
Even though I might have Arab in my family, for the most part, I'm South Sudanese.
Yeah.
Before we were invaded, like that. That's my country. Everything.
Yeah.
Up there.
I mean, we were originally from North Sudan anyway.
We're all in Khartoum, bro.
Split. That's
Same
what we
hospital.
Had to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we had to do, but that's still our country.
Before Western religion, let's be honest with ourselves. Before Islam and before Western religion, and where were we? We were one nation, not really tripping about anything else. Like we were all divided, maybe from beliefs or practices and all that stuff. And we did have inter-tribal warfare, but like we were still a whole.
You saying Islam was the problem?
I'm saying both Islam and Christianity. I'm gonna put the blame on both.
I don't think religion is the problem. I think people use religion as a crutch to like use.
They
that
were trying to
people.
and they were trying to enforce Sharia law. If you're not Muslim, that's crazy. That's like religious persecution.
I feel like that's a pretty way to put it, like a bow and tie. I feel like it's discrimination and racism, and it's like, well, they'll just say, no, the reason why we're doing this is because you guys need to follow this structure, which is underneath Sharia law.
The North that were Christian, they were on the side of the South Sudanese, were they not?
A lot of people have been commenting, especially with the latest video, saying that we miss our brothers, our South Sudanese brothers. A lot of people comment the South Sudanese and the Sudanese flag and saying a lot of it had to do with the government and politics and stuff. But as people, you guys are our brothers. We grew with you. We were one together. We miss you guys.
So why were they standing in solidarity with?
That's a good question.
I went to the Save Darfur rally like when I was a little kid with my mom and my dad, and I was probably like really young, like probably 10 or younger. It was a long time ago, and honestly, it was all the indigenous like Black people who were there, and maybe some white people, you know, who came to rally. And if y'all miss us so much, and you guys have stood behind us so hard, like, where were y'all when like we were rallying? And like, if you're gonna stay, why didn't you stand in solidarity? I'm willing to accept that it's the government. Like, Khartoum is the one who enforced all of this, and they just went along with it. But so then, why didn't you guys stand in solidarity? And this is in America. If you were saying South in Sudan, then I can understand, because, you know, like, we don't have freedom of, you don't have freedom of
You're getting
speech.
dropped.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
Sarah?
They turned a blind eye. That's like, I'm speaking for people, a lot of like people who are South Sudanese who felt like, okay, yeah, we wanted unity and all of this, but like, you guys, there was a blind eye that was turned to our genocide, to our discrimination, to all of the hardships that we went through.
Before we even get there, I got a problem with all Sudanese people in the world that a couple years ago, you know, when something happened in Paris, everyone changed their Facebook photos to Paris flag. Every time something happens,
Speak
Sudanese
on
people
it.
are the first people that support other people. Like, when something goes on in Junub Sudan, they're quiet.
Speak on it.
Crazy.
Salam alaikum, ya jamana, man.
Speak on it.
Like he's
Yeah, bala skoro mak, y'all.
Now, tell me I'm wrong. Every time there's something tragic in the world happening, right now with the whole Palestine-Israel deal, how many people have changed their profile photos on all social media to Israel or Palestinian flag?
But what has been happening in South Sudan recently?
The same that's been happening
People will fight.
Don't do that. Don't use this and be complaining.
We're not complaining. I'm just saying.
You're complaining.
No, it's not complaining. It's a fact.
As Sudanese and South Sudanese people, we are so prideful, but we never support and stand on the facts of home. People are pushing acknowledgement towards the issues going on around the world. How come we're not pushing towards the issues that are going on back home, where places and neighborhoods are being bombed and shot up? What happened in Darfur? Where was all this support and the strength behind the support? Because right now, people are holding on strong, like they really stand for it. But how come you didn't stand for your own that way?
Different time period. There was not enough
What do you
media.
mean?
Let me add a little bit of context to what KK is talking about. So, based on your video that went viral about you talking about discrimination in Egypt, there are some people who commented and said, like, what you guys are going through, have been through in the Arab world. It's crazy how you guys are quick to stand up for Palestine. That's literally what they said.
Standing
And
for Israel, Palestine, and Kulum.
so I want
Who's
to
standing
know
up for Israel in the Sudanese community?
how I feel about it. I'm just going to speak for myself. I don't think that discrimination or racism in the Arab world can stand up to genocide. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to compare that or turn a blind eye to genocide because there is racism that exists in the Arab world.
Seeing a baby get torn apart by an RPG is not something
Yeah.
that's gonna make me be like, oh, they were racist to me. They don't deserve life.
Right.
That's
I think
crazy.
that two things can exist at once.
Yeah.
I think that you can speak against racism in the Arab world because it exists, and you can also say genocide is wrong. And you can, as South Sudanese who have been through genocide, you never know when that's gonna come at your doorstep, and you have to stand against it at any point. You know,
Are you,
like,
are you
genocide is-
disappointed in our government for not voting in the UN? And so they had a vote about if it was going to be considered a genocide. Or,
They were neutral.
Yeah, South Sudan didn't say anything.
For South Sudanese to even vote about genocide when they have a genocide on their own people, is to me is very, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me, because the South Sudanese, we talk about all this Arab and all these Sudan, and in South Sudan alone, in that civil war, 500,000 South Sudanese people were killed, raped, and moved from their homes by the South Sudanese government, by their own people. So we always want to blame outside forces, but it's within us.
No, but they're
It's the
part of the
same
UN, so
people.
they're voting towards, like, if there's genocide
With what
happening.
they have no
in
vote though. That's
Palestine.
the UN is a show. So like
Oh yeah, spit
Like,
that shit,
yeah.
talk that talk.
like
that
Israel, like so there's like three powers in the UN that's veto power over everything. So it doesn't matter what Israel does. The United States will always veto any resolution that comes up.
That power.
So South Sudan, as far as a representative that goes to the UN, I don't even think that they're even knowledgeable
Qualified.
enough to even know what's going on.
They're
Because
they're knowledgeable.
the last time the president went to the UN and did an address, he did it in English. He can barely speak English just to begin with. He did the address in English. Why not just do it in Dinka and have a translator? Why sit there in broken English, embarrassing the country?
Nepotism.
Okay.
So
Unqualified people.
That's my first issue. So I feel like, but a lot of people, we are a people of, we just go with the whatever's popular. So right now in the news, what's popular is the Israel Palestine. Nobody knows about what's going on in Sudan. There's genocide.
They're talking about what's happening in North Sudan. They're
in the
talking about-
national media. They don't.
So answer
Well,
the
it's the
question.
national
How do you
media.
feel to that response of people saying, like, if we've experienced all this to the Arab world, like how do we possibly stand for them during these times?
I feel because at the end of it, you don't say, oh, well, that person has prosecuted me, so when something bad happens to him, I'm not going to be good for him, because those people in Gaza were not the people who were bombing other countries or sending more money to other countries for when Sudan was fighting South Sudan. Those people in Gaza, they are innocent amongst themselves. Just because they're not even Arab, they're Semites because they are from that area. They are their own people and they have their own struggles. So if you are not able to see somebody else's struggle, then you are basically the prosecutor at that point. You're prosecuting them as well. So Gaza in itself is an open air prison, and Israel is bombing them and killing people. And what's going to happen is those people, when they get kicked out, they're going to go somewhere. They're going to go to Egypt. Egypt is going to say no. They're going to go to Sudan. Sudan's going to say no. They're going to keep traveling, and they're going to go somewhere at the end of the day. So what you have to do is you have to stand. If you don't stand for something, you're not going to stand for nothing. So the powers that be that is allowing this to happen, who's to say next time some other country wants, if Rwanda said, okay, I want to go bomb Congo and take over Congo, who's going to say the power that be going to be like, okay, we're going to stand with you. Yeah. Go ahead and take over that country. Kenya wants to go to Sudan and say, let's take it over.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
I think
that
you have to stand for the bigger picture, and genocide and like humanitarian issues. We all have to stand for that and stand for people who are experiencing that. But I also want to say to KK's point that people of Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo are also struggling and like.
Oh, so now you want to acknowledge what I said earlier when I was talking about how capitalism leads to these fucking situations?
I was on your side, mister.
No, you. I was looking at Christine. I wasn't looking at you. It's shot.
No, but I mean, I feel like the people of the Congo, people of Sudan, I think we should all stand for this. Like, if we're gonna stand for humanitarian issues or like war crimes, it needs to be across the board. If people, and it's like sometimes people that look like us, we don't get the same.
There's no attention on the war in Sudan right now. People don't even know that there's a war going on in Sudan.
No, but shout out to the Palestinian people, because they've always stood on their business whenever situations or wrongdoings were happening to other groups of people, because they knew the solidarity. They've been working with the civil rights groups since like the 1950s and 60s about what the fuck was happening.
I didn't know that's true. Thank you for educating me on that.
Been with the shit.
Even with Black Lives Matter, like they were protesting during Black Lives Matter, Palestinian people, and I think that's really important because I think it's really easy to think, oh, well, they didn't show up for us, but I feel like the only way that we get free is by community, like solidarity with each other. Like I see you, you see me, we see each other, like that type of stuff. Like even Fred Hampton, when he was alive, like he got together people, like he got poor white people together, he got Hispanic people together, he got Black people together, and we're like, okay, like let's try to like fix this shit together, because your freedom and my freedom are interconnected. Like there's no way that I'm going to be free and you're not going to be free, because the way the world works is I'm going to end up oppressing you if I don't see that your freedom is important to my freedom.
Also, our oppressors are connected. The IDF, the Israeli government, literally sends tactics back to the United States and the United States police force, who are oppressing who? The Black people. Same way that the IDF was rocking with South Africa and the apartheid state, and they were representing the state and fighting for it in the UN. So these people have always had and known what they were doing, but they've had 10 steps ahead. This isn't something new for them. They've already been prepared for this. For us, it's just like, oh, this is different situations or different. No, it's all interconnected.
And one of the things, on your point with the IDF, because they are building a police city outside of Atlanta for police to train police in America. And who do you think is going to be training those police officers? It's going to be the IDF. The way Israel has built a wall around Gaza and the West Bank. Where do you think they're getting an idea to build a wall for America and Mexico? They're getting it from there, because they're now saying, 1950s, okay, let's figure out a way to separate us from them. And in Israel, that's what they do. In Israel, there's literally two roads. One is for Israelites and Jews, and there's one for Palestinians. And that's an issue when you say, okay, well, they weren't with us. I don't care about what they're doing, because that's a mindset that can be brought here.
Exactly.
Who's to say, okay, we're going to be building up these highways? All Black people, all foreigners gonna be riding I-75. If you're white, you're gonna be on the tollway, because that is what's happening. You can actually see that xenophobia happening here with Trump and all this MAGA stuff, where they are blaming everything on immigrants, because that's what's happening over there.
And that's what they did in the Holocaust.
We do need to stop the invasion of our country through the border.
We stop that.
So we have found out.
Listen, that's part two. This is Texas. Texas. You cannot tell me that we are not. The border is why
Guys,
anybody is free to have
This is my last episode on Ladies of Sosa.
You know what? So, hold on.
Let us
me ask
speak.
a
Let us speak.
question. So y'all do not feel like
We need them.
I think,
we need them? So
They
y'all don't
literally
feel like
support our
illegal
economy.
immigration is a problem right
They
now?
support our economy.
There's thousands of people
They support our
crossing the
economy.
border
They're labor
illegally
force.
Can
every
I
day.
get 30 seconds? Just 30 seconds. If that border
I see.
is as tight as you want it, what's happening in today's market of inflation ain't nothing.
So let me. I'll point this out. When people say the border is open, 80% of the people who comes here illegally, they just fly here. You just come in with a visa, with a visitation visa. You just don't fly out. There are people who are trying to smuggle in because they can't get the visitation visa, they can't get a marriage visa, they can't get a visa to fly in. So yes, they are tracking and going through the desert and doing all this stuff to get in here. But that is such a small percentage that it's not worth spending trillions of dollars to build a wall that they can just climb over or they can just dig under.
And this is
Because
another.
it's not that hard to come to
This is
America.
another
It's
question
a
for
lot.
another episode.
Yeah, because we gotta wrap it
As
up.
South
We gotta wrap
Sudanese,
it up.
as South Sudanese Americans,
that
are
was-
we
that was a
allowed
hot
to speak
take.
on American politics?
Yes,
Yes.
because
We
I
came
pay my
here
taxes and I'm a
legally.
citizen.
But I think that's another thing. That's another topic because
But
people be eating us up.
Lastly,
That's
as
Just
people
your
from
fruits.
Texas, they have been busting Greg
It's
Abbott.
political.
The governor of
can't
Texas
even walk.
has been busing thousands of immigrants to Chicago and New York, which are sanctuary cities. And they have said recently that they are calling for the federal government to step in because they can't handle. They literally shut down an elementary school and made people go virtually so that they can house the immigrants.
Do you know why
there.
Texas is designed to house them better? Because
Ask the audience if they even want us to take this political route. Are you guys
we've
ready?
been a political
Should we,
podcast the whole
should we
fucking
talk
time.
about this
Talk
or
about
leave it
stuff like
alone?
No,
Keep it light.
talk about it.
But thank you guys so much. We have no time left.
Yes.
I'm gonna tag their handles at the
Conservative
beginning of the
Christine.
episode.
Hey, this is I say in the comments.
Looking.
Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe.
And follow us on all
Ayo,
platforms.
wait a minute. I don't vote at all.
Thank
nigga.
you.
Fuck all that.
Bye.